Hello everyone, this is Anna from Cat Realty. For those of you who don't know, Cat Realty is a relocation and investment agent who helps expats relocating to Portugal and supports them in the whole process. We work with both rentals and purchases. We are a team of locals and we are very concerned about lifestyle and sustainability and always try to help our clients in the best way possible so they can settle in our country in a sustainable way, both culturally and financially for both sides. So today I am going to talk to you about the elections in Portugal. Many of you may already have heard about the elections that took place past Sunday, the 10th, and I am going to explain a bit of how the system in Portugal works and give you a bit of the overview of the current situation. So, the first thing that I believe it's very important to say is how the system itself works. So, the elections elect deputies, and the deputies take their place in Parliament in order to vote on new proposals and laws and so on. So the people elect the deputies, and then the deputies make the government. Portugal usually has about 230 deputies in Parliament that can be elected, and a party needs 116 deputies in order to get the absolute majority. And that, of course, includes coalitions of parties coming together in order to get the majority. That is something that happens very common, it's a very common occurrence in Portugal. So, how do we elect these deputies? There are 22 electoral cycles, and 18 of them are in continental Portugal, 2 of them are on the islands, and 2 of them are outside Portugal, 1 in Europe and 1 worldwide, for the Portuguese citizens that are immigrated outside of the national territory. The number of deputies that each of these circles elects is based on the population density of each circle. This is a system that has been highly criticized in the past because it can be very unfair, especially for smaller parties. So basically what happens is that, for example, Lisbon gets to elect about 46 deputies, while small districts like Porto Alegre and Bragança elect 2 and 3 deputies respectively. So this system basically makes it that a lot of votes are wasted. So just to give you the data of this election, about 10% of the votes were wasted, and that comes down to 673,000 votes that didn't elect any deputies. And it also makes it so that in the whole history of democracy in Portugal, that it's actually quite long, you only had 6 instances where a government was elected in majority and no coalitions had to be made. So this also makes it so that it's very hard for new parties to elect deputies, and it is also very frustrating to get involved in new parties, and a lot of people, it incentivizes abstinence because a lot of people feel like their votes won't mean anything, because even if they vote, they won't be electing anyone unless it's the major parties. So this system ends up being kind of rigged, and there have been proposals in the past to change this system, but since the 2 main parties that are PS and PSD always had the most power in Parliament, they never had any real incentive or will to change the system, and the system keeps being the way it is. So back to these elections. These elections were revolutionary in a way because they shaked the beliefs of the two main parties. Like I was explaining, these two main parties have been in power for a very long time, and it's very hard to get them out of that. And most Portuguese people are very frustrated with this, and the narrative has always been a bit, only those two can govern, so it's not worth it to vote it in smaller parties, which once again makes it very hard for the smaller parties to grow. However, people are completely saturated of these two parties, and it is finally starting to show. So there is a lot of discontent in Portugal around politics. Most Portuguese people believe things will not change, and finally we have some shakeup. So what happens, however, is that the party that is shaking the system is Chega. So I'm going to give you the results of these elections. So a party that was formed by a coalition of PSD and 2 or 3 other small parties that has been nominated Aliança Democrática, so AD. AD got 79 votes and has the technical majority, although by a very, very small margin. And then PS, that is the second biggest party, or in this election at least, it has 77 deputies elected. Then Chega, that is this party that is shaking things up a bit, has 48 deputies elected. And then only 4 other smaller, actually 5, got to elect some deputies. You got EL, that is Iniciativa Liberal, that elected 8 deputies. You have Bloc de Esquerda that elected 5 deputies, CDU that elected 4 deputies, Livre that elected 4 deputies, and PAN that elected 1 deputy. No other parties were able to elect any deputies, and like I said before, 673,000 votes were wasted, in a sense they did not elect anyone in these elections. So, the current situation is that PS and PSD are left and right, but mostly central governments, while Chega is a far-right movement. And once again, I believe that the results of this election show that the Portuguese people are saturated of the current system. Whether these results are a good or a bad thing, I will try to keep my own political opinion out of this video as much as possible. I'm just going to give you the facts. But overall, what I wanted to express in this video is exactly that these results are a show of the Portuguese people of the saturation that they have with the political system. And this party that is shaking things up, Chega, they always have been very polemic. And so they have always been in the ears and in the words and mouth of the people. The leader of Chega, André Ventura, always makes a lot of polemic comments that make the news and so on and so forth. So he gained a lot of visibility and became one of the fastest growing parties in Portugal because of this. Not one of, I think it's really the fastest growing party in Portugal. Objectively analyzing things, their party does have some very good proposals when it comes to the economical side of things. However, they are very traditional and very conservative when it comes to the social side of things. But like I was saying, most of the Portuguese people are just saturated of the current situation, and I believe many of them felt like this party was the only one who had a chance to shake things up, because most of the other small parties, they have stayed small for all this time. Like, yeah, I just announced in the results, most of them, they have like 4 deputies, one has 8, but it's actually an ex-leader of one of the big parties that separated from them. But the system has been made in a way that things were very stagnated. It was hard to get change. So in a way, it is good that things are being shaken up and the main parties are finally realizing that they may lose their comfortable seats. However, the way that this is happening may not be the best, but it may be necessary, and you can only see in the future how exactly this is going to happen. And overall, the current situation is very unstable because the winning party only win by a nominal margin, but by an insignificant margin, and ended up only having 2 more deputies than the second party. So the AD has 79 and PS has 77. Neither of them say they want to make coalitions. In the past, the last government was a coalition between PS and PSD, and it didn't go very well. So I believe that the parties don't really want to repeat that situation. However, both of them have demonstrated the intention not to make a coalition with the Chega party. So currently we are at a very unstable situation, and it's very likely that we will have another election this year to try and make a more stable result. So that is the current situation of the politics in Portugal. When it comes to how does this expats, it's hard to tell, because most of the parties didn't make a lot of specific proposals to expats, and many of the parties don't really come through with the proposals they make, so it's hard to tell how things will evolve. But the party that kept power was the same that was the main government last year, so the last elections. So right now things will probably mostly stay the same. However, like I was saying, things are very unstable, and the Chega party is gaining a lot of traction, and it's hard to tell how things are going to evolve. So it's very much a wait and see kind of situation, and for now things probably will stay mostly the same, but probably not for a very long time. Overall, Chega had about 18% of the votes in Portugal, so that is very significant, but not at all enough to govern. And like I was saying, none of the main parties say they want to make a coalition with them. And let's see, we will have to see the next few weeks and the next few months how the current situation is able to hold up. Technically, the AD does have the ability to govern by winning this election, even if by a very small margin, but they will have a very hard time governing, because they end up having a fairly small percentage of parliament. So they have 79, and that the other 2 parties probably won't make their lives very easy. So overall, it's a wait-and-see situation, and we will have to wait for the next elections in order to see how things are going to evolve on the long term. but on the short term, things are probably going to stay mostly the same. So I hope this was helpful. I tried my best to make this explanation without making too many political comments. I would, however, love to hear your feedback. And I know this is a very polemic topic and everyone has different opinions, but everyone is entitled to them. And we will keep posting every week with useful information about Portugal and living in Portugal, investing in Portugal, relocation to Portugal. And you can follow us on our YouTube channel in order to get weekly updates. You can also subscribe to our newsletter in order to get the first dibs on new articles and promotions. We also release useful articles on our website that anyone can access. And I hope to see you all next week. Bye.